the governing board, and the purpose of this meeting today is to share with our community information around what it's like and what are the responsibilities of a board member. We do have a couple of seats open for the November election, and we felt that it was a good time to give you a little bit of information around the responsibilities and what you do when you are a board member for a school district. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Erica's going to share her screen, and there's lots of information that ultimately will be posted to the district website. And also this video will be posted to the website, so you can refer back to it if you have questions. So starting with election, the election is on November 3rd. You can file up until August 7th at 5 o'clock. As I mentioned earlier, we do have 2 seats open, and those are 4-year terms. In our district, because of our size and the makeup of our community, all members are at large, meaning you represent the entire community rather than a small portion of the community, or a small portion. And all of the process is managed through the Napa County Registrar of Voters. And so the information there would take you to a phone number to make an appointment, and also websites where you can gather all the information that you would need to register as, or to file to become a candidate. Erica, are you going to share something right now?
Yeah, I was just making that screen a little bit bigger.
Oh, okay.
Is that more visible?
That's great. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So on this next page, you see our mission statement and our vision statement. We're really proud of those 2 statements. We spent quite a bit of time, not the 1920, but the 1819 school year, collecting information from our community, from our students, from our employees, to develop this vision and the mission statement. And I've asked many times what resonates with people as they look at those statements. And our community really likes the academic rigor, the safe and supporting learning environment. And then that last piece around exploring creativity, collaboratively problem solving, and fully developing as a resilient, caring, and responsible individual, learner, and citizen, because we know it's so important that our students, as they move into the adulthood, become responsible citizens. Our local control accountability plan, that link there, takes you to that document. It is a very lengthy, complex document. It is our driving roadmap. It tells us where we're going. It has goals and action items throughout all aspects of our district with regards to student engagement, with regards to safe learning environments, and then also academic rigor. So it is a lengthy document, and I invite you to take a look at it. Ask me questions at another time if you have some, because as I said, it's fairly complex, and it's what drives our district. Our board members receive reports on the local control accountability plan on a monthly basis, so that they know the plan as well as district staff, our principals, and our teachers do. Our governing board is governed, or must follow the requirements of the Brown Act, Ralph M. Brown Act. And at the minute you are elected, you are actually under the Brown Act, which means that you are basically a board member, even though you have not been, you haven't sworn in and taken the oath to be a board member. The Brown Act is fairly simple and yet complex. Governing boards were put into place in public schools many years ago to ensure that the public had an opportunity to participate in the school community and have a voice. And so our governing board is a governing board when they are in an official meeting. They're an official meeting when 3 or more of them are together, and that meeting has been agendized and noticed to the public. So our board members, when there's more than 3 of them together, they have to have been, it has to have been publicly noticed, and the community needs to be able to participate in those meetings. Lots more with regards to the Brown Act. That's just a piece of it. And that link, Erica, would take people to the Brown Act. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Thank you. We do have a 5-member board, and annually the president, the vice president, and clerk are elected. Typically, our board president can serve for up to 2 years, and that's what's happened since I have been here in the district for the last 6 years. Board meetings. So some districts have 2 board meetings a month. Some districts have 1 board meeting a month. We have 1 a month. That's our regularly scheduled board meeting. Those are put on the calendar in December for the following January to December annual year. They are typically the 2nd Thursday of the month. And so we absolutely have those 11 meetings. And then we may have additional meetings. Special board meetings will allow for voting to take place, action items, and then study sessions or workshops provide the board with additional information and allow them to go deeper into content in a particular area. So that's board meetings. Currently, we're holding them via Zoom and sometimes hybrid because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Typically, they are in our Vintage Hall building in the boardroom on Main Street, and they start, closed session, Erica, starts at 5 o'clock, and the board meeting starts at 6 o'clock. Right. So closed session is an opportunity for confidential items to be discussed with the board, and it's very prescribed as to what can be discussed in closed session. And then open session is open to the public. So with regards to board agendas, Erica and I work very hand in hand on the board agenda with the board president. And regular meetings agendas need to be posted 72 hours in advance, meaning that in public places at each of our school sites and on the district website, the agenda is posted for the public to be able to see them. We work diligently to actually post them the Friday before the board meeting, and on occasion they've been posted on Monday before the Thursday meeting. Special meetings require a 24-hour posting in advance, and if we need to have an emergency meeting, it's required to be posted for at least 1 hour prior to. So again, Erica and I work with the board president. We identify the agenda, and then staff works over the course of the next week or so to develop the items, and Erica posts them using a web program called Board Docs. Erica, do you want to give a sentence or two about Board Docs?
Sure, absolutely. So Board Docs is a web-based application, so it's accessible anywhere that you can access internet. So you can access it on your mobile phone, you can access it on a desktop, and that really allows for maximum accessibility to all of our community members.
Thank you. So we also have what's called a governance calendar, and this document it came into place prior to me joining the district, and Erica has done a great job of maintaining the governance calendar. What it does is allows the board to see at a glance a number of standing items that will come to them in different months of the school year. So for example, the LCAP is on every month's agenda. Something like the budget approval would be in the June board meeting, and so they know what's coming up and when it's going to happen. Do you want to show the governance calendar, Erica? And as I mentioned while she's going to that, this document will be posted to the district website, and each of the items that is in color is a live link. She just went to a live link right now. So you can see that the calendar shows all of the months and divides the agenda into a number of different content areas. Erica, since we have this open, do you already have the Adopt a School assignments on here? I thought I might just go ahead and talk about that since it's open. Okay, so Adopt a School, which is on the chart in a few more minutes, is an opportunity for our board members to report on schools. And so over I guess it's in June, correct, Erica? They select a school for the next year? Yes. So you can see that Trustee Pelosi is scheduled for a September Adopt a School report. So what that means is that the primary school is Trustee Pelosi's school for the year. So she's going to visit the school. She's going to walk through classrooms with the principal. She might go to a Bagels and Buddy event or some other kind of assembly in a typical school year. And then when it's her turn to report out, she has an opportunity to share what's happening at the primary school. It's a great opportunity to get to know the schools and for our community to hear more about what's happening at each of the schools. It's a rotation. You can see then in October, Trustee Kerr would be reporting on the elementary school, Trustee Conwell on the middle school, and then Trustee Olguin on the high school. We do not assign the board president an Adopt a School assignment, as their calendar is filled with lots of agenda planning and other items. Okay, Erica, thank you. Let's go back to that chart. I also wanted, while she's going back to the chart, Erica, you did set up the Q&A on this?
Correct, yes.
Do you want to explain to our participants how to submit a question? Because they could submit it at any time, correct?
Absolutely. So there are two ways of submitting a question. As always, you can hover down the bottom of the screen and use the hand to raise your hand and ask a question if you would like to ask that question through your voice, and then I will go ahead and unmute you and you may ask your question, or you can anonymously ask the question through the Q&A feature that is on the bottom of the screen as well.
Thank you. Okay, so the Governance Handbook is a document that the governing board lives and uses. It is a guidebook that helps them to understand and develop norms by which they work. There's lots of aspects to the Governance Handbook that are super helpful. You can see here there's that common ground that I mentioned, gaining clarity on the role of a board member and the role of the superintendent, building a culture that is based on trust and respect, and then agreement on structures and process with regards to fulfilling responsibilities. The Governance Handbook is reviewed by the board annually, and we update it and make changes as appropriate. So becoming a board member is possibly a daunting idea for community members because there isn't a school necessarily that you go to become a board member before you become a board member. And it's really great that the California School Boards Association, CSBA, is in place in the state of California because they support our board members in just so many ways. They hold an annual conference, typically right around the last week of February, first week of December. And it's a 3-day conference, and it's just filled with lots of opportunities to learn. We have presented as a school district at the CSBA conference in the past, and there's typically strands that the presentations follow. There could be a technology strand. There could be a STEM, science, technology, engineering, math strand. There's different strands, and so you choose different classes that you might want to take and enjoy the learning. I would say that on any given year, there are anywhere between 750 to 2,000 board members that attend this conference, and it's really powerful. In addition to the classes, there are keynote speakers that speak after lunch each day, and again, really powerful, lots of learning. And that's a general big learning for all board members. When there's also, if you want to dig even more deeply, CSBA also offers Masters in Governance, and those are modules. There's one on finance, specifically budgeting and finance. There's one on curriculum and instruction, and they happen throughout the calendar year in different locations. I think Erica, what's the closest one that's been to us? Was it Berkeley?
There is one in Sacramento. There were some being held in Sonoma County at one time. I think that
And it's each module is it 4 hours?
It's usually typically a 2-day, an evening and then a morning
Right.
session. And there are a total of 5 different courses. They don't have to be taken all together. You can break them up over a period of time. It allows for a lot of flexibility.
It does. Right, and you could take a couple of them in your first year, take another one in your second year, and move forward. And if you complete all of them, you receive a Master's in Governance certificate. They also offer, CSBA also offers a 2-day institute for new board members. And I've had the pleasure of attending that with a couple of our board members in the last couple of years. It's really helpful. It digs a little deep in what's it like to be a board member, and just truly giving that new board member the overview of all of what happens actually in Masters in Governance at a little bit more of a surface level. And that typically happens in either February or March, correct, Erica? Yeah. So I already talked about the Adopt a School assignments. I'll move on to the superintendent subcommittees. In our school district, we completely believe in continuous learning. We also want input from not only our students and our staff, but our community. And so we have a number of superintendent subcommittees, and those meet regularly. We invite 2 board members to participate in each of those meetings, so that board perspective can be involved in the meetings as well. And then it also allows the board members to report to their colleagues during a board meeting what has happened at those meetings. Erica, do you want to go ahead and open that link? We ask people to sign up for these committees via our website and Sign Up Genius. And so the Sign Up Genius actually does give you an overview of each of the meetings, the meeting content and what happens at them. So let's see. So for example, Business Operations Committee is all about our budget and also about our facilities. And it's Andy Stubbs, our CBO, runs those meetings, and if you're interested in the finances of our district, that's where you'd want to be. The LCAP Steering Committee is the group that oversees our local control accountability plan, and they meet. The LCAP Steering Committee and the Budget Committee probably are the 2 that meet the most, because we are engaged in making sure that the LCAP is a living, breathing document, and that we are getting the voices from our community. A highlight in the LCAP Steering every year is the middle school and high school student panels, where we listen to students answer questions. And the Budget Committee will be meeting more this year as a result of where we are right now with COVID-19, and moving forward to ensure that we are financially stable. So we ask anyone to participate in those, and as a board member, we ask 2 board members to volunteer for each of them. Okay, let's go back to the chart. Board policies. We have how many, Erica? Hundreds? Is it in?
Hundreds, yes.
Hundreds. The board is responsible for approving and adopting all board policies, and the board policies are what govern and direct our work as a school district. Again, there are hundreds of them, and you can click on board policies to get to them. They are all open to the public and available online. We have board policies, and then we have administrative regulations. And so basically the board policies are the rules and the framework by which we work as a school district, and our board is responsible for approving them. And then the administrative regulations are the recipe for getting that work accomplished, or the details around how we accomplish that framework of board policy. I mentioned the budget committee earlier, and I mentioned Andy Stubbs, our CBO. The budget was adopted in June, and we are a basic aid district, which means that we are funded by property taxes here in the community, which is very different than probably 93% of the districts in the state of California. Basic aid districts, what that means is that the property taxes exceed what the state allocation would be for the school district. And so instead of receiving the bulk of our funds from the state, we receive them from property taxes. And so you'll note that our funding is much higher in relation to districts that are funded by the state. I think that's the conflict of interest. Yes, okay. So annually each year, as a board member and myself as an administrator in the school district, we are required to disclose any personal assets or income on what is called a Form 700. So there's more about that we certainly can explain to you at the time that you become a board member. Basically, it's that conflict of interest. So donations or work that you are doing outside of the school district can't conflict with the workings and the processes of our school district. The organization chart, I think you want to go ahead and click on that one, Erica? What this will do is show you our district organization. And while Erica's pulling that up, I'll mention to you as listeners that as a governing board, the five of you have one employee, and that is the superintendent. So as a governing board, you're responsible for hiring the superintendent, evaluating the superintendent, holding the superintendent accountable for their goals and all of the board policies and the work of the school district. And then the superintendent's responsibility is to ensure that all of those other employees that you're seeing on this chart, as well as all of our teachers, our grounds people, our food services, all of the employees that are alluded to in this chart are being held accountable and are being evaluated and are completing the work that they are to complete. So you can see that while we are a small district, we have a mighty yet small staff that works diligently to meet the needs of our students on a regular basis. I think you can go ahead and close that one, Erica. And Erica has created this organizational chart, and as employees retire and move on, she updates that chart pretty regularly. And I would just end with reminding everyone that we do have 4 schools in our district. We have the primary school that's a TK2, an elementary school that's 3-5, middle school that's 6-8, and the high school that's 9-12. We have about 175 employees, and that's all of our employees, teachers who are certificated, classified staff, which make up, as I mentioned earlier, our grounds, our secretarial, our food services, our maintenance team, our custodial team. And we currently have approximately 1,250 students, and that fluctuates. We've been as low as about 1,100, Erica, 1,140 in our 6 years, and been a little bit higher than 1,250. So that's a really fast overview of who we are as a district and what your role is as a board member. Erica, do we have any questions or comments from participants?
I don't have any questions submitted. If anyone would like to raise their hand at this time and pose a question, we're happy to answer those right now as well. Oh, I have one. Laura, you're unmuted. Go ahead and unmute your mic so that you may ask your question.
Great. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I have a quick question about commitment, just to review. It
Sure.
would be a monthly board meeting and then 2 committee meetings to participate in 2 committees, like the LCAP or the curriculum. I was a little fuzzy on that, if that was
Sure. Yes. So the monthly board meeting it lasts anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. And to prepare for that, you would want to read through the agenda and submit any questions or talk with me around any questions that you might have, clarifying questions prior to the board meeting. We do ask board members to participate in at least one subcommittee. I believe most of them are on 2. Eric, is that correct?
Some are on up to 4, I believe. There are a couple. Now, some committees are more active than others. So something like the calendar committee doesn't meet regularly, only when the calendar needs to be adjusted or adopted. Or student discipline is also another committee, and so that's a case-by-case basis. So some board members will choose to be on maybe one very active committee and then 2 or 3 that are not very active throughout the school year.
Right. And then with regards to other meetings, we do we have an occasional special meeting. For example, we had a special meeting earlier this week. It lasted about 2 hours. And study sessions, typically we have maybe 2 a year, and those are 2 to 3 hour meetings. And then with regards to adopt a school, you do want to know who your school is, and so those months that you would be presenting, you would want to visit the school and talk with the principal and potentially participate in an event.
Okay.
And then one more thing, I want to be really transparent on this one because we don't want somebody saying, wait a minute, you didn't tell us that.
Sure, of course.
Typically, as a school district, at the end of during different times of the year, our schools are heavily engaged in events for the community. Choir presentations, plays, different kinds of things based on the grade levels. And if your school is doing something like that as an adopt a school, they love having you there. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the year, the month of May is full of activities and opportunities to participate in 4 schools. Eric and I always are amazed at how much is happening with 4 schools. So when I mean that, there's end of the year kinds of activities. So, 2nd grade, 5th grade, 8th grade, and our high schoolers are either promoting or graduating. And then Honor Society is celebrating students. AVID is celebrating students. There's so many activities going on, and we know that we can't have everyone be everywhere. That's just not possible. So that's when Erica gets her Sign Up Genius out. And she identifies all of those activities on a Sign Up Genius, and we determine how many people we think should be at each one of those. High school graduation, we ask all board members to be there. And then as a board member, and actually our administrative team as well, we sign up for those events so that we absolutely have district representation at each one of them. We just know that we can't all be at all of them.
Okay, thank you.
Does that help? Sure.
Yes, that's perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more questions?
Erica, do you want to talk a little bit about your role as executive assistant to the governing board?
Of course. So I am here to support not only the superintendent, but all of the trustees here in our district. If a trustee needs some assistance in scheduling, gaining access to a school site, or any other resources, I am here to support them with their needs, help them manage calendars, troubleshoot any technical difficulties that they might have, schedule travel when the opportunity for professional development occurs. I am there to support the Board of Trustees as a team, as well as the superintendent.
Thank you. Any other questions or clarifying comments about being a board member? Erica, do you think, did we cover everything? Did I miss anything?
I think we did. I wasn't sure if you wanted to share some information on a potential calendar that you were going to share with the board.
Oh, yes, yes. So much like, thank you, Erica, CSBA provides those opportunities for learning to become an experienced board member. That is, going to school for a few hours. And in addition to those opportunities, myself and the school board members it's really important to us that our new board members feel supported. And so this is a recommendation that I'm taking to the governing board actually at the August meeting, correct, Erica? And it's a calendar to, in the past, it's been informal. I've met with new board members on a regular basis, and one of our board members, according to our governance calendar, becomes a mentor for a new board member. And Eric and I felt that maybe making that a little bit more formal so that board members that are new feel secure in their work, we created this schedule. And so you can see that anyone who is running for the school board and has pulled papers for that November election, you will be offered a meeting with me in October so that you can learn more about the school district and I can answer any questions you might have with regards to curriculum or the LCAP. Our board president will meet with you as well, and based on availability, we'll take you on some site visits. And then in November, we'll welcome our new board members. We'll meet with you. Again, our board president will meet with you as well, and we'll take you on some site visits. In December, that's when you take the oath of office, and that happens at the regularly scheduled board meeting. And we'll continue, as you can see, I'll meet with you on a regular basis each month. January, potentially the Institute for new board members is in January. It may be February. It varies from one year to the next. And that would give you also a time where you would get to meet with Andy Stubbs, our CBO, and Chris Heller, our Chief Academic Human Resources Officer, where they can really give you an introduction to the work that they accomplish. And then going down into March, Andy Stubbs is constantly working on our budget, and she provides a first interim budget meeting, which is listed in December, and then a second interim budget meeting in March, where she actually delivers that to the board. And our thinking is that as a new board member, you might like a little bit more time understanding and digging into the budget before it's brought to you at a board meeting. So we would certainly offer that opportunity for you to meet with her and myself to understand and get a deep working knowledge of the budget. We adopt the budget, then again, it goes before the board in a public hearing, typically in May, and then adopted in June. And it's probably changed somewhat, and so we would offer those meetings again. So as you can see, the intent here is that we truly want to make sure that our board members have the information and content that they need to be effective, and appreciate actually input that was given by board members that have joined us in the last 6 years as far as how we can be better stewards of information and orientation. So as I said, I'll be taking this to the board in August as a recommendation, and ultimately that recommendation is that it become a part of the governance handbook and that it's a system that's in place until further changes are needed or required. Thanks, Erica, for reminding me of that. Did that pop up any questions for anyone? Laura, that probably added a little bit to your time commitment, because again, in order to be an effective board member, you need to have the content and the information, and so that's a good another good segue.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay, I see that we do have a couple of board members that are listening. If either one of them wants to talk about commitment, that would be great. They don't have to by any means, but if you are interested and you want to raise your hand, and Erica will call on you.
Trustee Pelosi, could you please unmute your mic?
Yes.
Thank you for
morning.
joining us, Trustee Pelosi.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you so much for holding this informational session. It's very, very helpful. I think you did a great job of covering really so many of the important points. I think that just speaking to time commitment, because I do know that that is usually a big bubble for people to kind of contemplate. I think it really does vary. I think to be more effective at the job and to understand, the first year is a fairly substantial time commitment, but I think it's an important time commitment because you need to understand the workings of all aspects of the school district. So, while you can't, it's hard to put a number on it, to say, oh, it's X amount of hours a month. It all just will depend. But I think honestly that first year is a bigger time commitment than even I thought that I realized. And I was attending a lot of meetings prior to joining the board.
Yes, you were.
But I think it helped me to get a better understanding of the inside workings from a district perspective, a school site perspective. So I think it's important for prospective board members to keep that in mind, that first year is crucial in onboarding correctly.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Trustee Pelosi. And you mentioned something about the complexity, and we all attended schools, so we all feel like we know school. And the challenges are that we are all also a business, and we're an employer, and there's lots of complexity to running a school district that you just don't typically think of. And I think that that's a little bit of what you're alluding to, is getting to know the district as a full district, and in addition to classrooms where teachers are teaching and students are learning. Would that be fair, Trustee Pelosi?
Yes, that is very fair. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Well, I appreciate you participating today. And if you're watching this live or you're watching it later, on a recording, please know that Eric and I are here to answer any questions that you might have as you're considering running for the school board, or in the future or today. And you can reach us. We're here most days. Our contact information is on the district website. As I said, this recording, along with the document that we shared, will be posted on the district website. Becoming a board member is it's a responsibility, and it's a commitment to the community. And I believe that our board members who currently serve on the school board care deeply about children, care deeply about every child every day, and have given many hours to support our school district, and we appreciate them greatly, and honor the work that you do as a board member. So if you decide to join us, we look forward to having you, and thank you again for joining us today.